Hello, everyone, and welcome to Co-Creation Station, the podcast where we talk about the law of attraction, the art of allowing, spiritual magic, the mind-body-spirit connection, and how to best enjoy this mystical, miraculous, mysterious, crazy, sometimes confounding, but always incredible journey we call life. My name is Collin, and I'm located in beautiful, sunny North Hollywood, California.
My name is Stephanie Orlina. I am a transformational life coach and I help people shift away from negative thinking. And I am in San Diego, California.
Thank you so much for listening and watching today. Each week, we start off our discussion here on Co-Creation Station from a different jumping off point. And this week, I think I have the jumping off point, and we didn't specifically talk about it in our friend time right before recording this, but what we were talking about kind of flows into it, I think, pretty easily. What I was thinking about, Stephanie, this week is how I had this conversation with a friend on the phone, and we were talking about something big that had happened in the news because I have fallen off the wagon of my not
Oh
following the news.
no! Oh, and into the
It's
abyss.
I realized even avoiding certain things, if I'm on the internet on a regular basis, it's really
Yeah,
challenging to not find out about things.
sure.
But anyway, in this conversation that my friend and I were having, we very easily fell into this thing at the end, where my friend really what she did was made a prediction about where this news story was going to go over the next couple of years. And but she made it with like a very profound sense of confidence, like almost like saying this is definitely how it's going to happen. And then I this was all a friendly conversation, we didn't argue or anything, but I disagreed with her version of what she thinks is going to happen in the next 2 years with this news story. So I told her hyper confidently how I think it's going to go, but I didn't say I think. I
Mhm.
said no, what's going to happen is blah 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 blah,
Uh,
like I literally saw it in a crystal ball.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
And when I got off that phone conversation, I started thinking about this issue because it's been bugging me for a while. Not to go all over the place, but I also follow football primarily, but sports in general in the United States. And sportscasters and sports announcers have made entire careers off predicting the
Yeah,
results of games before they happen, like what the score is going to be, who's going to win.
yeah, yeah.
And I'm all like sometimes they do it 10 minutes before the game starts.
Yeah.
I'm always like, but I'm gonna watch the game. Like the game will tell me. Like you're just making something up, and I'm about to
Yeah.
watch what is really gonna happen. And so, but what I was thinking about this week is because I don't think that is intuition. I
Oh
think
yeah.
for me at least, I should keep it about myself. But for me, when I get on that sort of high horse of like, well, this is definitely how something's gonna go,
Yeah.
it's really, I think, comes out of if I'm going to be brutally honest, the core of it is like an insecurity or fear about the future,
Oh,
and me.
I didn't expect you to say that.
I know it's a wild day here, um, in North Hollywood, but but me like overconfidently saying to someone, well, what's going to happen is blah 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 blah, you know
Yeah.
the Tigers are going to beat the Lions 42-14. It's for me when I do that, it's this artificial, fake, really, attempt to control the future by saying, I know how it's going to go, it's going to go this way, so I don't have to be worried about any of the outcomes that might scare me or whatever. And I just was thinking about that, and it's like that's not my intuition. Like I do have something that's connected to my higher self, that's connected to whatever people's view of higher power is, the universe, whatever, that gives me really good sense of some things that have not happened yet sometimes.
Yeah. Yeah.
um but when I do that little lecture thing like I did to my friend, and stuff like that, that's not my intuition. Like I feel like it's interesting because if you walked around to people like just off the street and said, you have an intuition that, connects you to the universal
Yeah,
consciousness and
yeah,
lets you predict the future, a lot of people are just going to believe you're crazy, bud. But if
yes,
I ask them, who do you think is going to be president in the United States in 2024? It's like 90% of people are like, oh, it's definitely going to be so and so. And I'm
yeah,
like,
yeah.
why are you okay with like that form of predicting the future,
Right,
which is
right.
completely artificial? It may be like an edge, what they call an educated guess.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
the thing that's interesting to me, and I'm sorry, I'll shut up in a moment so you can respond. But Abraham always talks about the leading edge and how we don't know what's going to happen, and that's the thing. Is like what I notice about these things that I predict,
yeah,
this overconfidence is
yeah.
I'm wrong a lot. I don't know what the
Yeah.
percentage is, but it's
I'm
it's
only laughing because I was recently wrong, and I'm just like,
it's pretty far from 100%. I can tell you that. It's probably well
uh,
below 50, and it doesn't mean that I don't have knowledge or I don't know things or I
yeah,
can't.
yeah,
I'm not in, like I don't have a good mind for putting together certain things. I think I do, but it's like I don't know. It's like it feels like, at least in America, we have this kind of obsession in our culture and the media with like people getting up and grabbing some sort of public microphone, whatever it is, social media, the news, whatever, and saying, "Well, this is definitely what's going to happen," and yet that's so often wrong, and yet so many of us don't listen to our intuition,
yeah.
which we do have, and
Why do
which
you think that is?
well,
Is it just,
I mean, for me, I think I can only speak for myself, but it's learned. I think my
yeah, for
my
sure.
parents
Yeah,
did it.
exactly.
You
Yeah, yeah.
know, no shame on them, but they
It's
did
more
it.
the norm than the other. Like,
Yeah.
oh, yeah, I was just talking to someone this morning about, I'm sorry, were you done?
Well, I was just gonna say, but I think I expressed before like what the core of it really is. Like I learned it, but I think
Yeah,
I learned it as a coping mechanism. And for me, the coping mechanism is, and it may be different for different people, but it's just sort of like it's comforting to believe for a moment that how something important is going to shake out, because it saves me from the I mean, it's an illusion, it doesn't actually save me, but the illusion is that it saves me from an unpredictable outcome that I might not be ready for, or might change my day or my year or my life in ways that I don't know.
dude, you just said it right there for me of why I, I've just had this hope and was practicing this faith that there would be this certain outcome and I would get this certain thing. And I just realized, yesterday that, oh, F, that's not going to happen. Um, and so, and you said it, I think what I realize now, I'm coming to realize is that I needed to believe that for that whole stretch of time in
Yeah,
order to get me to where I am today
yeah,
because I wasn't capable and prepared to consider the opposite.
yeah,
And it felt better, even though I was uncertain. I had hoped that I'd have a certain outcome and it's not going to happen. And so, but I'm okay. Like,
yeah,
yeah, I'm having some strong emotions about it, but I'm okay.
yeah. Well, I wonder, I mean, I'll try to stay on topic here, but I do wonder, one of the things that is true today, at least, again, I talk about America because that's the one place I've ever really lived, and it's all I know. I don't try to talk about the whole world, but in America today, we have access. Potentially, we have access to like so much information, and people talk to Abraham about this in some of the workshops. It's like we have access to so much information that I'm not sure that we were designed to process, like emotionally and intellectually and everything, all the different pieces of information about everything going on in the world
No, we can't.
that we
Yeah.
could have access to,
Yeah.
because we still have you know our life, what's going on in our work, our relationship, love life, our home life, all these, entertainment, all that sort of stuff. We have our friends and our family members and everything they're going through and sharing with us and whatever, but then we also have these sort of electronic channels of just like constant information, and there's a lot that's really good about that, but I do feel like sometimes it can really often be overwhelming for people, and it definitely can for me. And I think that's one of the times where that fake prediction fake
Mm,
predicting the future on based on information I already have about something that I is totally beyond my control
yeah.
is kind of like a coping mechanism for that. It's like for me to, if I was just going to sit down and meditate on all the potential like disastrous outcomes of
Oh
every news
God.
story that could happen, and today it's just sort
Yeah.
of like, I don't think we're built for. I don't think that was the point of life. I don't know
No,
exactly
not
what the
at
meaning of
all. And it's
life
not a good
is.
use of my time either.
Yeah,
Oh my gosh.
yeah. Because the downside is, and I feel very strongly about this as an artist, is like one of the potential dangers of that is that you become numb to it,
Mm,
you know,
yeah.
and something happens in your actual real life with people you know and interact with, and you're numb because
Oh,
your brain has
okay.
been dealing with
Yeah.
this deluge,
Yeah.
deluge, I mean, I'm just, again, we don't talk about news stories or politics on here for a very good reason, but just with the COVID stuff, I've been concerned about that like, because like everyone, almost everyone I know has had COVID or thinks they have or whatever. So it's like when somebody tells me they have COVID, like 2.5 years ago, I was very concerned. It's like, oh, this is
Yeah.
my friend or my coworker or whatever.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now I'm finding it just naturally harder to get concerned because I've had it. Most people I know have had it. And it's like, but like anybody going through it, it's still a potentially stressful situation for them. And it's sort of like, I think that's somewhat a result of me taking in too much information about the whole world and not having enough like genuinely left, that I would like to, for people that are actually in my life. Kind of a side issue to what we originally started talking about,
Yeah.
but I've,
Well, I think going back to what you were saying about, having taking in all this information, I think it goes back to what we talk about a lot here is just like that barometer.
yeah,
I'm like feeling, how does it feel?
yeah,
And if I start to get overwhelmed, I need to
yeah,
like step back.
yeah,
If I start to feel uncomfortable and like unsafe or like worried or, whatever it may be,
yeah,
it's like, okay, I need to let this go and go do something else or go look at something else or just put it down.
yeah,
And I think one of the biggest things that we can do for ourselves is to pay attention to how we feel.
yeah. I think that's, I'm off the wagon, so I'm following the news a bit, but I think the good thing that I that I've or a really valuable thing I've learned from Abraham is that I don't have to watch the news. Like I am very aware now that when I check out news stories, that is a choice. Like I don't have this obligation to like make sure I'm up on everything and I'm getting depressed about the right things, I'm getting angry about the right things. Like that today is a choice.
How's that working for
Yeah.
you?
In fact, this was another thing I was going to show you. Actually, this actually folds in. I didn't know if this was going to be a separate topic, but I think it's part of this topic, and I'll have to explain it for the folks who are listening to us and not able to see the video version on YouTube. But I saw this on on Twitter this week, and I was just like, "Oh my god, this is amazing!" Somebody just posted this picture. Can you see that?
Oh, what the hell?
Like it's like what I love about, so for the people who are listening and can't see it, it's like a standard thing from like Microsoft Windows, like one of those boxes that pops up that says would you like to, whatever, and you normally click okay or continue, whatever, and it says you're invited to, and then the thing you're invited to do is suffer, and has a little piece of like birthday cake or something with it.
Which
It has,
I think that was so, I don't like that they put that graphic on there because
well,
it's like, do you
I
know what I
think what
mean?
they mean though is that, and there's a button that you
Oh,
can,
it's like tantalizing.
yes,
Okay,
yes.
okay,
It's
got
like
it. Okay,
this will kind of feel good
for a
for a
second.
second. Yeah,
Okay,
yeah. And
okay, got it.
there's a button
Okay,
you can click that says join.
join. You're invited to suffer. Yeah, that's how I feel. I think that's why I just stopped watching the news for the most part many years
Yeah,
ago. And if I there's something I absolutely need to know, like higher power leads me to it, someone will say something or I'll catch
yeah.
it or whatever, but other than that, and I've just been fine.
No, I mean that's the thing. It's like because I studied history and a lot when I was in school, and I was a political science major in my undergraduate degree, and so there are things that are in the news that are legitimately interesting to me. That's
Yeah,
information that is interesting to me.
sure.
The challenge, which is basically impossible for me at this point, is
Uh,
to sort to get to glean information that's
yeah,
interesting
yeah,
without catching the frame,
yeah,
which is this is really bad. You should be really
yeah,
upset about it,
yeah, yeah.
or this person did something awful that you
Yeah.
don't believe in. You should get angry. And it's like the thing is, it doesn't serve any like greater purpose. Like,
Well, it's just to keep you engaged. So,
yeah,
so something that you said earlier about,
slash addicted, possibly.
about,
Thin line. It's a thin
about,
line between engaged and addicted.
about, about this idea of predicting the future.
Yeah,
And you said insecurity, fear, and worry.
yeah,
Because it gives us, because if I think I know what's going to happen, it gives me this sense of security.
yeah. Which is illusory and false, but
Yeah,
if you
yeah.
can,
So
again,
what would be, so then what would be the solution? What would be some of the options for, um to soothe that for myself?
well,
Would it, to
it's
have this
challenging, but
trust
yeah,
that
I
things
think
are
that's the
always
thing is that
working out for me? A trust that, well, because in our history, like, if I was to look at my life in general, like, yeah, things always do it was. So that's interesting, because if that's the case, I think it just goes back to the lizard brain, right? Where
yeah,
it's just fear, it's just because
100%.
of the unknown. Because if I have this whole history, I'm 58, I've got, like, if we'd take maybe when I was 10, so 48 years of history that show that even when things not so great and or bad happen, like, it always, it's okay. Do you know what I mean? Like, I'm still alive, I'm here. Um and as I say, what is it they say, that if it doesn't kill you, it'll make you strong. Whatever doesn't kill you will make you stronger.
That'd be Kelly Clarkson. I think she did get it
So
from someone
yeah,
else
yeah.
originally, to be fair. She's the
So
one that put it to a great beat. Just saying.
I really feel like, well, there's probably far and few between. I think older people, people that are, a few decades on me, some of them do have this sense of, like, yeah, it's gonna be all right. Like, been around the block, and they just have this sense of, like, yeah, I just realized I want to be one of those people. I'm like, yeah, it's gonna be okay.
There's a couple of quotes that jump to mind around this. One of them I heard years ago. A friend of mine told me, and they had heard from somebody else, and it was just super powerful to me, and I remember it a lot, and it helps me a lot, which is, how is your now? Asking yourself, how is your now? Because typically
Oh, dude, I think that's how I'm gonna write this down.
we
How
aren't creating
is
YouTube shorts yet, but that
your
needs to be a YouTube
now?
short.
That's our title for this episode.
Whatever you just did.
Oh,
Um,
dude, that is like so juicy. Cause
yeah.
yeah. I mean, when I'm thinking about this situation, I'm just like, girl, I was thinking about this. Okay, I'm just gonna say it. It's about my divorce. And when I think about, prior to me even mentioning this coming out of my mouth to my partner, I was freaked the F out.
Mhm.
And when here it is 3 years later, it's just like one of the longest. Anyways, it's okay. Um, I never, ever, ever imagined that it would be as okay as it has been. And
Mhm.
not to say that there haven't been peaks of fear and worry and concern, because I was futurizing. I wasn't in the
Yeah.
moment, because all those moments that I had, I was fine. And I am like, Steph, your future, like, what the F are you doing? Like, if you didn't think that could happen and it did, it was all okay. Moving forward is going to be the same, even though you don't know. It's that whole unknown. It's the whole unknown. Oh man. But I love that. That just takes care of it. How is your now? So great, because we get in our friend time, And you were, I shared with you, that I'm newly divorced, and you put up this video of Freebird by Leonard Skinner, and we spent 7 minutes and watching people who had never heard the song before. It was this compilation of all these different people who had listened to the song and I felt so good after those 7 or 9 minutes of airtime, and you were such a gift to me for doing that. I'm super thankful, because that's the best I felt all day on the last day and a half. So thank you, 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 thank you. If you don't know what that was all about, you need to listen to a couple episodes previous to this. Mark Twain quote.
See this. Yeah, this is a pretty famous Mark Twain quote. I've lived through some terrible things in my life, some of which actually happened.
Oh my God, so true, right?
Yeah, and I think it's funny because whenever somebody brings that quote up to me or I bring it up to them, it's like, oh my God, yeah, that's so true. And yet, speaking for myself personally, I mean, I do less of it than I did before. It's
me too.
Progress, but
I still do it.
scare the bejesus out of myself
This
with
is
future.
so great. Thank you.
A band I really like too, called the Silver Sun Pickups from LA. They have a song that I've always loved the title of it, which is "Future Foe Scenarios." Things I'll probably never need to fight, but I need to think about how they'll pan out. But the other thing I heard this week, I was watching a video about. I didn't go down a huge YouTube rabbit hole as I often do.
Yeah.
But I did watch this one video about a guy who claims he had a near-death experience, like he died and was brought back to
I
life.
love those stories. I love those stories.
I do too, but the thing is, the video was like 35 minutes long. My attention was not at its peak when I was watching. I was like, "So what's the gist, man? Like, boil it down for me." And I found he said the most important thing, and I was like, "Oh, cool! I'll just watch this part." And he said, "This is what I was. I was filled with an overwhelming." Understanding that the following was true. And I wrote down what he said. And he said, I just knew that what this voice was telling me, which is, you are deeply loved and cherished forever. You have nothing to fear. You are deeply cared for. And the reason I wrote that down is like, man, if I meditate on that for just 3 seconds, it takes away all my future foe scenario fear.
Oh, okay. Let's do this. I'm going to do this. I'm just going to, put it back up. Put it back up. Sorry. I'm just going to repeat it for like a minute. Okay. I'm just going to, okay. Collin, Stephanie, and everyone listening right now, you are deeply loved and cherished forever. You have nothing to worry or fear. You are deeply cared for. You are deeply loved and cherished forever. You have nothing to fear. You are deeply cared for. You are deeply loved and cherished forever. You have nothing to fear. You are deeply cared for. You are deeply loved and cherished forever. You have nothing to fear. You are deeply cared for. You are deeply loved and cherished forever. You have nothing to fear. You are deeply loved and cared for. I'm calmer.
Right? It's really hard to be present with that and freak out about something.
Yeah. Well, and it kind of goes back to, how is your now? And my nows have been pretty badass.
Yeah.
I have to say, they have been pretty, yeah.
Well, that's the fascinating thing to me is like whenever I think of it, I'm thinking of it because I'm freaking out about something and I need to calm myself the fuck down. And yet, so I'm only pretty much asking myself that when I think things are awful or whatever in my mind. And yet, whenever I do ask myself that question, I'm like, my life is awesome. like I'm really happy, like things are going really well. Like there's a
And
lot
it
of,
is that switch, right? Is that
yeah,
what am I going to focus on? Am I
yeah,
going to focus on what's working well, or am I going to focus on what's not? Or am
yeah,
I going to focus on what's going on that's good? Or am I going to pretend like, am I going to imagine the worst? That's what it is. I'm
yeah,
imagining the worst.
yeah,
How's that working for me, Steph?
yeah.
It's not.
Which again, you correctly and justly pointed out, our brains are set up,
And
from like
that's what we're, that's
caveman
why I
days.
say it's always like when I wake up in the morning, it is my job. That's what I've come to know is like, I have to do the work, which for me, it's like
Yeah,
meditate first thing in the morning,
yeah,
listen to some Abraham, read some stuff, prayer meditation, because if not, my thinking does not,
yeah,
I can go maybe a day without doing nothing,
yeah,
but 2 days is stretching it. And then it's just,
yeah.
and even after all these years, has it been a decade? No. Yeah, oh my gosh. Has it been? I think it's been 9 years that I really just kind of delved into listening and watching and reading a ton of Abraham. And it just really shifted my inner world, which therefore shifted my outer world.
Yeah,
But I still every day,
yeah.
moment by moment. And then connecting with you in friend time and you putting up that song and and then you're just having a totally different experience of it, just a reminder of me of like celebration, like
Yeah.
the longest celebration ever. And that just made me smile.
Good discussion.
Because
Thanks.
everything is
That
going to
was
be all right. Three Little Birds by Mr. Marley.
awesome.
Love that song.
Many great songs about how everything's gonna be fine. All right. Sorry, I lost my place here. Well, we are so happy you've joined us today. We hope you got something valuable out of our discussion here. Remember that at this time, we're posting a brand new episode for you every Monday morning. We truly appreciate you doing whatever your platform allows you to do to support the podcast. You know all the things. We put all our links and our email address down the doodly doo and on YouTube. We wish you a happy and abundant, peaceful, and joyous week. And we look forward to you joining us again on the next episode of Co Creation Station. Bye, everybody.
Bye.